Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Randy Bach, and I'm honored today, to have with us the two candidates for state representative of the 11th Middlesex District for Massachusetts, Vlad Yanovsky and Amy Ma Sangiolo. And we're going to have a little bit of back and forth and discussion of our issues. We are the Newton Taxpayers Association. This is time for people to think about taxes, I guess, but we're going to be thinking about how the state is going in the right or wrong direction and how it can be corrected, whether it should be corrected or not. So thank you so much for both of your coming on tonight. It's a little bit of juggling to get you both here simultaneously. I'm happy that we did, because we can prove you're not the same person, because otherwise if you never appeared together we might think that. But I would like you possibly to give our viewers a chance to self-introduce. I think you both care about, say, the city of Newton, but now you're going to be caring about probably an area a little bit slightly overlapping and not. But tell us, kind of an introductory statement, who you are, what brought your interest in this role, and what would be your, I guess, your primary goal to achieve in your first term. So we'll start randomly, ladies first.
Sure. I'm Amy Sangiolo. I'm a former city councilor. I served with the city for 20 years. I'm currently now at the Attorney General's office working in housing as a consumer specialist, preventing evictions and foreclosures. I've been involved with the community for about the full 29 years that I've lived in Newton. I care about our residents. I think I've proven to be responsive and very attentive to resident needs. I've been very transparent in terms of trying to make government more transparent to our residents, and I am running because I think there are a lot of issues that are facing our state as well as facing our city, and I believe that I have the background and experience to help lead on those issues.
All right, we'll try to get to those issues specifically, because everyone always wants to make the world a better place, but it's like what they say about the weather. Everyone wants better weather, but nobody knows how to fix it. Vlad?
Well, it's just like you said. Somebody's got to pay for all of this. And, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We're all trying to do all the wonderful things at times, and, somebody's got to pay for it. Well, I've been in private business basically my entire life. I've spent much of my time in healthcare and healthcare education, health career education. 22 years ago, I founded an organization called the Boston Career Institute. It's a not-for-profit organization. We train primarily inner-city women, for the most part, in careers in healthcare. And I provide training and assistance to people to make more money and find happiness in where they are and enhance their lot with simply making more money, keeping more of it. I'd like to bring the same to the 11th Middlesex District and to the State House. Make sure there's transparency and fewer informal sessions, and make sure that people know where their money's going.
Perfect. So I have a number of different topics. I have some of them written down as notes here. I may get to some or all of them, but you clearly both emphasize different aspects. So I looked at your web pages, and Amy, you see climate change as a major issue requiring more action, while Vlad, you focus on infrastructure and business growth. What steps would each of you to take to address either one of these in a way that balances, say, environmental needs with economic interests? I mean, there's a cost, as you're saying, there's a cost for everything, and we have a limited amount of finances. Is it I guess, what would you see as the most pressing issue? Is it climate, or is it economic interest, just between those two things? Obviously, there's a whole panorama, but between those two, how do you see those? And we gave Amy first. I'll give you first dibs on this.
Well, we live in the United States, the cleanest country in the known universe. We put out maybe 12% of all the carbon emissions out of all the industrialized countries, and we are by far the most efficient. Massachusetts and Newton are on the cutting edge of clean, if you want to call it that. For me, doing anything in Massachusetts other than we're already doing would be folly when we have so many other things that we need to do. We need to fix our failing infrastructure, we need to fix our schools, we need to fix our budget, we need to fix our deficiencies in pension funds. So a little bit of frugality will go a long way. I think the efforts in environmentalism need to be centered somewhere in China and India and other places where they're not quite as clean as we are here. We are but a pimple on the world stage as far as environmentalism is concerned. I think we'll stay the course and focus on human needs rather than environmental.
Amy?
So I believe the climate crisis is an existential threat to our being. I care about my future generations, my children, hopefully I will have grandchildren who will be able to enjoy the earth, clean air, clean water, be able to live in an environment where we're not struggling to just have all of these very good resources. I don't see, Randy, you mentioned that you checked out my website. I just want to make it clear that I also have an economic platform as well that's detailed on the website. So I am concerned. I don't think that they're necessarily competing interests. We have to be mindful always to find that balance. Yes, it's going to cost for us to do all the things that we need to do to address climate. And at the same time, we have to make sure that we look at our state economy and make sure that we grow economic sectors, including the environmental sector. And I think Maura Healey has certainly made that a big issue with her platform to grow the climate tech sector, and I support that.
Would you like to address?
No, I think this is Amy's position. I respect that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I respect her position, and I certainly stated mine. I do believe that the human needs take precedence today, and the failing infrastructure needs to be handled. I think a bigger problem is crime and illegal migrants in the Commonwealth, but they present a more of an existential crisis to our community, and I think that's where we need to focus our attention. I think at the end of the day, we all want clean water, clean air, and safe harbor for our children, for their future and grandchildren. So I think we're on the same path here, except we just need to get there a little bit differently.
Would you like to address his?
No, I think he's right. I think we both agree that it's just the amount of the priorities, I think, and the way we get to address those.
Well, let's
I don't
talk-
think they're necessarily
Let's talk.
different. I think you agree that there is some more that we can do. It's just a matter of how much we do. I think that you don't want it to take over to become more of a priority than, say, infrastructure and some of the other things that you mentioned.
I agree. We should keep everything clean.
Right. Well, I would like to maybe just drill down, no pun intended, slightly on this point. Konstantin Keeson runs trigonometry on the web. He pointed out that oftentimes the climate aspects are just outsourcing some of the pollution. So if we don't build, say, a solar cell here, or we don't make lithium batteries because we have to do the mining, it's going to be happening. People want it, it's going to be done, but you're just outsourcing the pollution basically to China or somewhere else in East Asia, the Philippines or whatever. When people are kind of pursuing the climate aspect, I mean, I would see it like we're having a leaf fire. You know, we're burning leaves and so forth, and you're next to say a warehouse that's burning. It's the India-China example. You know, what are the things that, you know, if we restrict our economic growth by taking away industries and so forth, will we have the same possibility for all the other things we like, all the kind of luxuries that we like? I mean, just as a slight aside, I was in East Europe back before the wall came down, and they have all the right intentions, but the place was polluted like crazy because they didn't have the money for it. So I think economics, and personally I think economics drives the ability to even think about kind of the luxury thoughts of cleaning the environment. Absent, you know, the bigger kind of polluters dealing with their things, how can we make climate change the existential primary threat if we put out our leaf fire but they don't put out their burning house?
Well, I think we have to do like all hands on deck. And when you say that, we're going to not pay attention to these other industries because we're going to, get out of the gas drilling industry, right, and the oil producing industry or the coal industry, that's the intent, to move forward with clean energy and create those jobs and transition those folks who are working in those industries into a clean climate sector.
Any last words?
Well, I disagree completely with that at this point in time. We are a oil-driven economy and coal-driven economy. There's so much dependent on oil, like our roads, medicine, Vaseline you use. Everything comes from, one way or another, from oil or burning oil or refining oil. We have a tremendous amount of resources available to us of what we're doing. So we have evolved so much from 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, with clean burning coal plants and oil plants, and of course nuclear, the absolutely best, cleanest power source today, but oil is still it. If we switch and transition so quickly, eventually we will have to get there. But today, and probably for the next 100 years, we're stuck with oil. We might as well make it work. And of course, given the fact that we have given up some of our positions, and we're not talking about 11th Middlesex right now, if we're talking about America stopping to drill, world wars break out, which we're seeing right now, due to the higher prices of oil, and the tin pot dictators like the Putins and the like are, starting wars and conflicts only based on the fact that they can afford to do that. So that's my position today on this. I think oil and coal are essential to our freedom and the way of life for the rest of the world, providing cheap energy for poor and downtrodden people.
Any final words?
No, I really believe that in order for us to make sure that we have an earth and a clean environment to leave for our future generations, that we really need to move fast and quickly to get off of some of these fossil fuels that we're burning. No question that it's going to cost some money, and no question there must be a balance to what we do, and no question that we definitely have to make sure that there is that transition so that people don't become jobless and industries just go under. We transition them into clean energy. We're seeing auto manufacturers do that, going towards electric vehicles. It can be done, and it should be done.
Well, yeah, I actually have an electric vehicle myself, but it runs on coal. The electrons don't just get there. Anyway, I'm going to move along a little bit. Both of you prioritize education, although with different foci. Academic accountability versus mental health and emotional support. How would you improve the quality of education in, say, we live in Newton, but statewide, whatnot? And what specific policies would you implement to balance priorities? So, Amy.
So I think, back in I think it was the 90s where the state did ed reform. I think it was really important to get some more accountability and more standards for our schools. I think the latest recent report showed that 8th grade math and reading, we've actually ranked second, I think, in the nation. But
who's we in this case? The state?
The state of Massachusetts. But we're seeing a bit of a decline, so I think more focus, which could mean more funding for more resources for our professionals, and again, more standards that to make sure that people are accountable for the education that we provide.
Standards for whom, and who's being accountable?
Educational standards for our teachers as well as for our students.
Do you mean testing the teachers, testing the students?
Well, we have MCAS.
Okay, so then what would be the ways of testing teachers?
MCAS is a way to teach to make sure that we reach a certain educational level, and I think that's important to maintain until we can find another assessment tool that will help us make sure that our kids are learning what we believe they should be learning at that certain grade level.
Well, I'm not going to be a very popular person by providing the answer that I'm going to be providing. I think school choice is truly the answer. I think our public schools need to be held accountable and need to be compared to organizations that run on a specific budget, not something that's unlimited. I went to school in Soviet Union. My class had 45 students in it and one teacher. I'm not saying that we need to go to that model, but the amount of work that was put in by that one individual to teach the students so well was absolutely tremendous. Here in Newton, we have, 11 students per one teacher? that's extraordinary. I mean, this is it's unbelievable. You can have circle time and have a Socratic methodology of teaching and teach everybody amazingly well. But just because we're ranking somewhere second in the nation does not necessarily mean that it's a product of our schools. I had a conversation with well, you were there when we were meeting with the CAAN, Chinese American Association of Newton,
Yep.
if I didn't mispronounce it. When I asked people, how many of your students, how many of your children attend the Russian School of Math or a similar institution, I think every hand in the room went up. Is it our schools, or is it the extra money that the parents are spending to educate their children? I think we have a problem here. Without competition, there is stagnation. As an educator, and as a person who runs a school, I can tell you competition is a very healthy thing. It keeps me accountable in front of my students. When I see my admissions drop, I know we're doing something wrong, and I fix it.
So to that point, would you, you would not, you're only going to be one out of many legislators, but if you had the deciding vote to allow more school choice and say charter schools locally, I don't think we can get charter schools in Newton. I've addressed this many times. Would you allow charter schools or competitive aspects of schooling for school choice, say, but we'll keep it at charter schools for a simple instance. Would you vote yay or nay for charter schools?
I think I would want to learn more about what the impact it would be on our school system. Right now, we have the ability to opt into school choice. I think our school committee this year, correct me if I'm wrong, they voted not to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
I believe so.
So I mean, it was a vote by your current elected school committee members that decided not to.
Well, my
opt
understanding
in.
is the state has no allowance for it, but
No, you have to. They have to take a yearly vote to decide whether to opt in or not. I'm sorry, opt out or not.
Okay, and your answer to that?
My answer to that parents need to take charge and hold schools accountable. Parents need to be a lot more involved in school boards and parent-teacher conferences and everything else, and hold the school accountable. School choice is the answer. So I would vote definitely for school choice.
So just quickly on that point, I think our current superintendent is trying to make sure that there's more parent involvement, which I think is just an amazing.
It's the right thing
positive
to
forward.
do. It's definitely the right thing
I
to
mean,
do.
I think we can all agree that we all like sunshine and flowers. That's never the issue, that we all want more accountability. I think the issue is whether there are better systemic ways of dealing with this. I grew up a product of a public school system, then a private school system. And I think for the most part, I don't want to take too much time, but for the most part, if you put public or private in front of another noun, you're going to make your own decision. Like, would you rather go to a private pool or a public pool? Private golf course or public golf course? Private transportation, public transportation? Obviously there's room for things that are public. We want some commonality and whatnot, but generally the quality of the item, between a public tennis court, a private tennis court, is better, it's more taken care of because there's ownership. So the tragedy of the commons tends to be that things that are left with nobody necessarily in charge wind up not being as well taken care of, and a lot of it becomes, anyway, that's my own, I'm
But
sorry.
is it because there's nobody in charge or because there's not enough funding? With a private school, clearly you're getting much more funding, right? You're paying for what you're getting.
I actually disagree with that point, but I'm not in the debate, so.
Well, I was just asking you for your
Is
opinion.
that true as an educator?
Oh, absolutely not. I think public institutions collect significantly more money and they don't have to work for it. Private organizations have to struggle for every dollar and make it work. Public schools don't really have to have cookie bake sales, to make their
My
budget.
understanding is the per capita payment for a say, Catholic school kid is less than it is for a public school kid.
Significantly.
And we can go to do the math. Somebody can fact check us later, but I want to keep moving along. Public safety. Mr. Yanofsky, you highlight your support for law enforcement and veterans, while Amy, you have a broader focus on criminal justice reform and gun violence prevention. So what are your visions for maintaining safety in say, the Newton area or state as a whole, and how would you handle the tension between public safety and justice reform? I forget who went first, but I'll start with Amy.
Oh. So I'm very proud to have the support of our public safety unions. The police and fire have both endorsed me in my race. In terms of public safety. I think Newton is very safe. I believe I'm much in favor of giving our police and fire enough resources so that they can have the training that they need, so that they can learn to de-escalate in situations where it's necessary to de-escalate. I think, I was one of the people on the Board of Aldermen at the time, and maybe it was City Council, I don't remember the changeover, but in advocating to have a social worker on our police force, which I believe was extremely helpful to our police force, have that social worker and that mental health support for calls that don't necessarily need to be addressed by a police officer.
Oh, well, first, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as we all know. So in order to make sure that we have great public safety, I think we need to first prevent the influx of criminals coming into our communities. A lot of that comes through our undocumented friends who show up unannounced at our now border state, Massachusetts. So we have a lot of people committing crimes here. So I would first work on this particular policy to make sure that our police departments, fire departments, and our first responders are not overburdened with such calls here. I do not support the notion that a social worker should be riding with the police department. Police is police, social work is social work. Police department is not a social experiment. We know through hundreds of years of policing what in reality needs to be done. Police are constantly on the lookout for de-escalation techniques. They do that organically on their own. And introducing social workers or psychologists into this particular mix, I think, is folly. I think anywhere and everywhere it's been tried in the United States, it has been an unmitigated disaster.
Well, I just want to add to that because it was supported by the chief of police at the time, and the chief got a grant, and we have a social worker, and I believe that there is a movement towards getting more social workers into our police force. So I just want to put that on the record.
understand. I hear you completely and totally, but a chief's position is no longer law enforcement. It's more of a political post. So, and anytime there's a grant, somebody's going to be applying for it.
I believe the police department also, the officers also supported having that social worker there too.
Well, on that we can disagree.
Recently, first of all, in general, violent crime has gone up in Massachusetts. And actually, I'm reading from, I think, the FBI crime source. Violent crime across the United States decreased the previous year, 2022, but went up in Massachusetts, according to FBI annual crime report. So in 2022, it went down nationwide and went up in Massachusetts. But speaking about crime, I'm going to maybe you can address that point. But specifically, we had a crime. Newton, fortunately, it's news if there's a shooting, and we're fortunate in that regard that it's a rare event. But this is something that has attracted nationwide attention. There was an attack on Iraq War veteran Scott Hayes during a pro-Israel standout. I guess people just standing right near Village Cafe. And a guy from across the street where the marijuana store happens to be, and a real estate store, came, screaming, and then came screaming at them and attacked and brought down Mr. Hayes and possibly others, and he shot the perpetrator. Now, a quick quiz: which one of the two gentlemen is in prison, or is detained, not prison, but in jail? Which one of the two is in jail, and which one would you have in jail if you had managed this event? So, Vlad?
Well, the answer to your first question is Mr. Hayes was arraigned and was in custody until he was released on bail, and the other gentleman wasn't charged until a little while later. So, yeah, we have this a little bit backwards, but since this sort of thing doesn't happen too often in Newton, I think may have been a little bit of a mismanagement of the situation. But overall, Mr. Hayes, who is a marvelous individual by all accounts, who did the right thing, he stood his ground, and he came to support his, I don't want to say people, but he came in support of the hostages, and was assaulted and battered, and then had to defend himself. So that's what happened. What can we do?
So I would just say that violence in any form should be is a bad thing, right? So just having the protesters there, I understand it was a peaceful protest. Absolutely, I agree with Vlad when he said that Mr. Hayes was the first one to be arrested and arraigned and was freed on bail. But my understanding is that from the reports by, I think it was DA Ryan, that the police could not charge the original person who ran across the street. I don't remember his name, maybe Gannon, I think is his last name. They could not charge it because they were not present when he had committed that attack. That's my understanding from what I've read from the reports that are out there. I'm looking for a thorough investigation by the police department and by the district attorney's office to get to the bottom of this.
Have either or both of you watched the video?
I haven't seen
I
it.
have.
You have not watched the
I have
video?
not seen it, no.
Okay.
Do you have it?
I'm not going to play it now.
No, I mean, you can send me the link to the video.
Yeah, no, it's everywhere. But so we have just a few minutes left. We have 3 minutes left. So I'd like you to give closing statements, maybe a minute or so each. What are the pressing issues? What would you change? And my druthers would be if you also potentially addressed some of the things that are happening in our schools, such as boys running in girls' races and educational standards, taxation. But I guess a hidden question for your summaries would be, what would you vote to increase taxes for?
Nothing.
Okay. Would you answer that question, perhaps?
Did you want me to? So is it a closing
Well,
statement? Or is it-
we'll do that trick question first, and then you can do your closing statement.
So to raise tax, what would I vote to raise taxes for?
Yeah.
I'd raise taxes for the real estate transfer tax. I think that would be a great way to raise funds to create more affordable housing. When I ran for mayor, I was all in favor of overrides, and I think we do need to have regular overrides in order to help provide the services and pay for the services that we need, whether it's schools, whether it's roads, whether it's to support our public safety officers. I believe that we need to do that.
But don't we have money already for those things? Don't we have those things already?
I don't believe it's enough for all the things that we want. I mean, let's look at the Mass Taxpayers Foundation report that recently came out. My understanding is that when you look at the quality of life, resident life, we ranked like up in the top. And we rank on the top because we invest. We invest in our public health, we invest in education, we invest in our roads, we make sure that we have good quality of life, and that's why we also have a very good high rate of longevity for our residents.
Yeah, no, I would work tirelessly to dropping taxes. Decreasing taxation always raises revenue. It's been proven time and time again. When you lower
Say that
taxes,
again. Decreasing taxes.
decreasing taxes
Raises revenue.
raises revenue.
Raises state
It
revenue.
is a proven fact. There's really no way to fight
How
it.
does that happen?
More people invest in small enterprise. If you take our, for example, Newton tax rate, residential tax rate is actually quite livable at just shy of $10 per thousand. But our commercial rates are double that. So when people invest in commercial enterprises and begin to pay taxes that way, when they're not overburdened by other taxes, a lot more revenue gently flows and in great amounts into the state and city coffers, it's a proven fact.
So
Okay.
you didn't ask about
Well, I'm
decreasing.
going to have to wrap up. So this is excellent. Can I have you both on next month?
Of course,
Sure.
I'm open.
All right. So thank you so much. This was Newton Taxpayers Association. We're on Facebook. You can follow us and maybe send us money so we can spread the word. Obviously, I try not to be too biased on this. I do have a sensibility based on the organization, but I hope it was a fair set of questions. I think I learned a lot from both of you, and I appreciate your being on the show. So thank you so much, Amy. Thank you so much, Vlad.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having